Hello and welcome to another episode of Handloader TV. I'm your host, Jeremiah. Welcome to the channel, and in this episode we're going to be talking all about Hornady's brand new cartridge, the 22 ARC, and this rifle here, built by Dave Kiff of Pacific Tool and Gauge. We're going to do a full load development with this rifle and the 22 ARC cartridge, and this video is also going to be in collaboration with Handloader magazine, where there's going to be a two-part article dedicated to this cartridge and rifle combo, and you can read all about it in Handloader issue number 351 and Handloader issue number 352. I would highly encourage you guys to check that out, and as always we'll be posting all of our results from our load development series on our sister website, loaddata.com. So if you want to check out all the loads that we tested in this rifle, you want to check out that website, you can see it all for free. So without further delay, let's get into the cartridge itself. Back in 2023, Hornady announced the 22 ARC cartridge, which is based on the 6.5 Grendel cartridge, which we just did a full load development on that cartridge using a Howa rifle, and the performance was very, very good overall. And personally, I'm a big fan of 22 caliber in general. I do a lot of predator hunting, I do a lot of varmint hunting. I've always been a big fan of the 223 Remington, the 5.56 NATO cartridge. Chambered in an AR platform, that's my go-to coyote stand gun. And early on, I've been adopters of the 22 Nosler, the 224 Valkyrie, and cartridges that just try to squeeze a little bit more performance than the 5.56 NATO. And that's exactly what the 22 ARC is. They took some lessons from those other cartridges and kind of worked together to combine something that would work very well, and you'd still get increased performance over the 223 Remington 5.56 NATO cartridges. Overall, it's not really a brand new cartridge exactly. Savvy handloaders and wildcatters will recognize it because it's been called the 22 Grendel or the 224 Grendel. We've actually covered that cartridge in the magazine before, but now that Hornady has released it, it's SAMI approved. It is good to go. You can get factory ammunition from Hornady. They currently have 3 different offerings in the 22 ARC. So it's pretty exciting time. And overall, I was a big fan of the 224 Grendel before Hornady turned it into the 22 ARC with some slight tweaks. In talking with the builder of this rifle, Dave Kiff at Pacific Tool and Gauge, he actually was kind enough to share his reamer print for 22 Grendel and the proposed reamer print for 22 ARC as well. So we'll pop that up in the screen so you guys can kind of compare those things. Now, speaking of Dave Kiff and Pacific Tool and Gauge, he built this rifle for us. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at it now. So the test rifle that we have here is a really, really nice, interesting rifle. It was custom built for us by Dave Kiff and Tony Grubb from Pacific Tool and Gauge Company. They previously had done a lot of work on 224 Grendel or 22 Grendel, and he was kind enough to go ahead and put this rifle together for us. Starting out here with the stock itself, this is an AG Composites, an AG adjustable hunter stock with a very nice recoil pad here on the end. Very soft, works very nicely, feels good. We have an adjustable cheek riser here, and the length of pull is 13.5 inches. We've got QD slots at the fore end here and at the rear of the stock. And we also have sling studs as well. And underneath here, we have a nice Arca rail. So if you wanted to attach this rifle to a tripod or something like that, it's got the Arca rail built in there. We have texturing at the wrist and at the fore end of the stock as well. The pattern here that you see is actually their carbon desert night camo pattern. Looks really good, blends in pretty nicely with the Arizona countryside when you're out there calling coyotes and doing things of that nature. Then rolling along to the action itself, this is a Pacific Tool and Gauge action. It is their Drakkar action, the Viking vessel action. And overall, it is very nice. The rifle has been checked and clear numerous times. It is clear for the video here. It runs super, super smooth, this bolt through the raceway. Just feels awesome. We have a 2-position safety here, and the trigger is a Timney Hunter trigger. And according to the average of 5 pulls on a Wheeler Engineering trigger pull gauge, it broke clean and crisp with no over travel at 1 pound 13 ounces. So a very nice light trigger there. The action or the bolt handle here is a little bit of a tactical bolt knob, a little bit enlarged with some knurling on there. Really good positive feel there. And then we have a 10 round 6mm ARC MDT magazine to feed our action here, which actually does have an extended magazine there, so you can seat bullets out a little bit longer if so desired. Then we have a 20 MOA Picatinny rail added to the top of the action here for mounting optics. And one really neat thing about this action is it actually has 2 studs that come up in here and act as like a recoil lug, just to add a little bit of rigidity and to ensure that that rail does not move at all under recoil, stress, shock, whatever you're doing with the rifle. That Picatinny rail is going to stay secure. It also utilizes number 8 screws, which are really nice, and that's kind of what we see a shift in this industry, moving away from the smaller number 6 screws to the number 8, just to add a little bit more security for mounting your optics. Then moving out here towards the barrel, we have a 20-inch Proof Research barrel, carbon fiber wrapped, 1-in-7 twist. And then we have a Nosler SR30 suppressor affixed on the end with a thread adapter on there, so that way it converts down to the 22 thread pitch. And then last but certainly not least, to top it all off, we have the brand new Leupold Mark IV HD. This is a 34mm main tube here, front focal plane optic with 0 lock turrets. It is parallax adjustable all the way down to 25 yards, so it's a great option for those who are looking for a long range scope for the rimfire, but you can still engage targets up close without having to deal with any kind of parallax issues, which personally I'm a big fan of. It has the Leupold PR2 mil front focal plane reticle in there, which is fantastic. Big fan of that as well. And the scope obviously is in mils. And it has a very nicely positioned throw lever as well. I really like where that sits at max magnification and at minimum magnification as well. Sometimes some scopes, when you get up towards that max magnification, that bolt handle can be in the way of your extended throw lever there. And Leupold optics, the throw lever is always removable, but better to have it on there and just have it completely clear the bolt like that. I like that. So overall, it's a great optic, phenomenal edge-to-edge clarity, and great for long-range shooting, long-range hunting, and competition as well. So there you have it. That's the nuts and bolts to the rifle. Now let's go ahead and talk about hand loading for this interesting 22 ARC cartridge. Reloading the 22 ARC cartridge is a very simple and straightforward process. It's a bottleneck cartridge, rifle cartridge, and overall it's pretty simple. However, we do want to walk you through exact steps that we took to develop our loads for this load development. So that way you can easily duplicate our results and use the exact same components that we have used. So starting out, we started by selecting our components. For all of our cases, we're going to be using Lapua 6.5 Grendel cases, because at this point in time, they do not make 22 ARC cases. Hornady is the only manufacturer that's currently offering 22 ARC cases. However, I'm sure that's going to change in the near future, because there's a lot of manufacturers that offer 6.5 Grendel brass, and necking that down to 22 caliber is a really simple and easy operation. And we'll walk you through that in just one moment here with the dies that we have installed on the press. So Lapua 6.5 Grendel cases neck down to 22 ARC is what we'll be using for our testing. And then we also went ahead and selected some high quality bullets and some high quality powders. And we're going to have a lot more than what you just see on the table here. We couldn't fit it in the frame, and there's a lot of loads that we're going to be putting to the test in this particular rifle. And I would highly encourage you guys to check out the article and loaddata.com to see all of the loads that we'll be putting to the test. From there, we went ahead and selected Hornady dies. This is a 22 ARC custom grade die set. And we also added the click adjustable micrometer seating stem on the seating die, which is just a nice touch, and I'm a big fan of the click adjustments on that. Plus the red anodizing on that just looks really, really sharp. So to develop our loads, we started out with brand new unfired Lapua cases, so we had no need to decap them. However, if you're starting out with fired cases, I would highly encourage you guys to use caution when you're decapping the primer. If you're using just a standard sizing die, a lot of times the Lapua flash holes are too tight and you can actually break decapping pins, which is why I have this FW Arms decapping die threaded into the press here. It is a very high quality, very nice decapping die. It's really set up for automated reloading on like a Mark 7 or a Dillon reloading press. But installed in here is their small decapping pin, specifically made for Lapua brass. So that way you can easily decap fired cases without wallowing out or damaging the flash hole there, because they are a little bit small on Lapua cases. It also features a nice sliding collar here to ensure that you are perfectly lined up with that very small flash hole, and that pin hits square on there every single time you decap a case. It is a little bit of a pricey decapping die, but it works very, very well. So then in order to resize our Lapua 6.5 Grendel cases, we went ahead and selected a Mighty Armory 6mm arc die that is adjusted to essentially just neck size the case. So I'll take a little bit of case lube here and apply it onto our 6.5 Grendel case here, which would be this guy right here. Run it up into the 6mm arc die, just enough to size the neck, like so. And now we have a 6mm Grendel case. Then from there, you can go ahead and slide on over to the Hornady full length 22 arc die, which is adjusted to size the entire case. Run that guy up in there. And now we have a fully formed 22 arc case from our Lapua 6.5 Grendel brass. Then from there, we went ahead and primed all of our cases using a Frankfurt Arsenal hand primer, and then using a Creedmoor Sports TRX 925 precision reloading scale and a Redding BR30 powder measure. Powder was dispensed with the BR30 and trickled up to weight using an RCBS trickler on the TRX 925 reloading scale. All charges were accurate to 0.04 of a grain no matter what propellant we were using, and I expect very, very good results from our loads. From there, we went ahead and swapped over to our Hornady bullet seating die, and depending on whatever bullet we were seating, we would adjust it using the audible and tactile clicks to get our cartridge overall loaded length perfectly dialed in. It also has a sliding sleeve to aid in case alignment while seating a bullet. And overall, it worked extremely well. Now, there are a couple things to note here. Looking at the cases here on the side of the press, we can see this ugly little crush guy. If I simply tried to take our Lapua 6.5 Grendel cases and run it straight up into the Hornady 22 arc die and resize them down from 6.5 to 22 in a single step, I would crush the shoulder. So instead, we had to do this progression where we had a 6.5 Grendel case, which is actually right here, neck it down to 6mm, and then we would neck it down to 22, just as we showed here, to prevent this crushed shoulder from happening. Also, another note that I want to make, we did not use the Redding T7 reloading press with Creedmoor Sports enhanced turret press head installed for this load development. I actually used an RCBS Rock Chucker 2 because it's what I had available at the time. But for demonstration purposes, we are using the Redding T7 reloading press because we'd be swapping a lot of dies if we used the RCBS Rock Chucker 2 press. So from there, I think that just about covers everything. One interesting thing to note when it comes to the cases here that we're using, we are sizing them quite a bit, and they may need some fire forming in order to fully fit our chamber and that sort of thing. We did take 6.5 Grendel brass down to 22 arc. So it'll be interesting to see. I would consider these fire forming loads, but the proof will be in the load development and the results we get after all. But we'll see what happens to them. But in Handloader issue number 352, we're going to be taking our fired cases from this video and from the first part of this article, and we'll be reloading them and seeing how the fire-formed cases perform with some of the same loads and some new loads as well. So it's going to be a really in-depth article on the 22 arc itself. But there you have it. As always, we only show the best results in these videos for time's sake. So that way we're not showing you 200 targets and 200 groups. It's just logistically impossible to do in the videos. So be sure to check out loaddata.com, our sister website. And on that website, for free, you can see the good, the bad, and the ugly, the group sizes, standard deviations, extreme spreads, everything except for the powder charge weight. We reserve that for subscribers, and it's a great way to support what we do here at Handloader TV and Handloader Magazine, providing the best information that we possibly can without bias and in an honest and easy to digest fashion. So on that note, let's go ahead and take the rifle and some preloaded ammunition that we have, and let's go ahead and hit the range and see what kind of results we get. So we're at the shooting bench now, and target's downrange at 100 yards as usual for all of our testing of rifle cartridges. And we've got a Garmin chronograph set up this time to record all of our muzzle velocities, calculate extreme spreads and standard deviations. And the weather today is very nice. According to Kestrel 5700 here, we've got a wind speed of about, I'd say 1 to 5 miles per hour, averaging out at about 3 miles per hour, blowing from about the 5 o'clock position currently. Temperature is 79 degrees Fahrenheit, altitude's 5,000 feet. Humidity is a low 12% today. Pressure is 30.19 in Hg when adjusted for elevation. So overall, a very nice day, and we'll go ahead and get started with this rifle by testing out some factory ammunition. So the first factory ammunition that we want to put to the test is this new Hornady V-Match ammunition. It's using a 62 grain ELD VT bullet, a brand new offering from Hornady. Very excited to see how this particular load does. I've actually already tried it through this rifle and performance has been really good, but let's see what we get today for the video. And I can also say that I have taken several coyotes with it now, and performance on them has been pretty good so far. Still a little early to tell, but so far so good. Let's put a little group on the paper now. So the next factory load that we're going to put to the test is this Hornady black ammunition using a 75 grain ELDM bullet. It's more designed around the AR-15 style rifles, but we're going to see how it does in this bolt gun. Settle in, shoot a group. All right, so we're swapping over to the hand loading side of things now using Hodgdon H4895 powder, a 28.9 grain charge with a 53 grain Hornady VMAX bullet. Lapua cases, Federal 205M primers, and our overall loaded length is 2.100 inches. I've already shot the starting load for this, and it felt like, with the suppressor on and everything, it felt about like a 22 long rifle in terms of recoil. Extremely comfortable to shoot, very pleasant load. Probably not as accurate as what we would like to see, but very enjoyable. So let's see how this load performs. Oh, what a sweet, smooth action this is. That just feels awesome. This next load is using Shooter's World Precision Rifle Powder, a 28.0 grain charge with a 69 grain Sierra Hollow Point Boat Tail or Match King bullet. Lapua cases, Federal 205M primers, and our overall loaded length is 2.180 inches. Settle in. Natural point of aim. Shoot a group. This load is using Hodgdon CFE 223 powder, a 29.0 grain charge with an 80.5 grain Burger full bore target bullet, Federal 205M primers, Lapua cases, and our overall loaded length is 2.260, maximum magazine length for this cartridge as per Sammy. Let's go ahead and shoot a group, preferably a small one. That looks pretty dang good from where I sit, and looks like one flew just a smidge high, but not too bad. Now we're back at the reloading bench, just got back from the range, and in testing I came to some interesting conclusions. Earlier in this video I said that I was an early adopter of 224 Valkyrie and 22 Nosler. Well, I initially was going to mention in our hand loading segment that I have a feeling that the same powders you use in those two cartridges will work very well in the 22 ARC. And that was very true. I got great results with Hodgdon CFE 223 and Hodgdon H4895 Shooter's World Precision Powder, and even some good loads with Vitavori N540 that we won't be showcasing in this video but will be in the article. So overall, the same powders for 224 Valkyrie and 22 Nosler should work pretty dang good in the 22 ARC. which kind of makes sense, case capacities being similar, bullet weights being similar, things of that nature. But without further delay, let's go ahead and dive into what we tested in this video, starting out with the Hornady V-Match factory ammunition, which is utilizing a brand new bullet from Hornady. This is their 62 grain ELD VT. It produced an extreme spread of 55, a standard deviation of 21, and even out of our 20-inch barrel, an average velocity of 3,232 feet per second. So very respectable there, and a group size of just 0.55 inches. And a little side note about this ammunition, this was the first factory load that I tested through this rifle, used it to break in the barrel, and just kind of establish a baseline of accuracy. And I can't remember the exact shot number. I want to say it was 10 or 20 rounds that I tested, and it grouped sub MOA if you discounted the first shot out of a brand new barrel. So very good ammunition there, very, very accurate in this particular rifle. And I've also since taken a few coyotes with this load, and it has done very well, but we'll talk about that more after we get through the targets. The next factory ammunition that we put to the test was Hornady Black, which utilizes a 75 grain ELD-M bullet. Very good extreme spread of just 12 feet per second, standard deviation of 5. Average velocity from our 20-inch tube was 3,016 feet per second, and it assembled a .61 inch group. All in all, nothing to sneeze at with factory ammunition there. Next, we went ahead and tried Hodgdon H4895 powder, a personal favorite of mine in the 22 nozzler. I have slayed a lot of prairie dogs with this powder in the 22 nozzler. 53 grain Hornady VMAX is what we used in this arc, and we assembled a group size of just 0.45 inches, standard deviation of 9, extreme spread of 24, and an average velocity of 3,423 feet per second. So all in all, very, very good results. And with this particular powder, H4895, I've used it a lot in the 22 nozzler with good results. And in this 22 arc, we got very good extreme spreads and standard deviations across our entire charge weight range that we tested. So that would be a fantastic choice if you were looking for a temperature stable propellant for your 22 arc. Next up, we went ahead and swapped over to Shooter's World Precision Rifle Powder. This was using a 69 grain Sierra hollow point boat tail or Match King bullet, an extreme spread of just 15, standard deviation of 5, and an average velocity of 2,943 feet per second. Really, really good there, and our group size measured out to just 0.57 inches. The final load that we went ahead and put to the test was using a Berger full bore target 80.5 grain bullet. Big fan of this bullet myself. We got an extreme spread of 11.5, standard deviation of just 4, and the average velocity was 2,929 feet per second with the 29 grain charge of CFE 223, another propellant I use quite a bit in 22 nozzler. The group size with the flyer measured out to 0.63 inches. I'm not sure if that flyer was on me, not sure if I called it out, I can't quite remember now. But if you were to remove that flyer, it measures out to 0.24 inches. So overall, still a really good load, and with standard deviations that low, I wouldn't hesitate to take this load out into the field and hunt with it. So there you have it. That's all the loads that we tested. One thing that is important to note as we go through this load data and we review the targets and everything, the 22 ARC does have a SAMI maximum pressure of 52,000 psi. However, if you are reloading for a bolt action rifle like this one here, and it's not going to be used in a gas gun, then you can safely load up to 62,000 psi, which is what we are loading to here in this video. Not all of these loads are at 62,000 psi. Some of them are well below it. Some of them are right around 52,000. However, if you have a bolt action rifle and you're a hand loader, you can unlock a whole lot of performance that you couldn't get any other way, because factory ammunition has to be held to that 52,000 psi mark. However, you're perfectly safe to load up to 62,000 psi in a bolt action rifle, which is what we did here to develop these loads. So a neat little tidbit and a little bit of performance that can only be unlocked through hand loading. Another good reason to be a hand loader. Now let's go ahead and close out this video with some final thoughts on the cartridge itself and the rifle. I always like to close out these videos with a few personal thoughts on the rifle and cartridge combination, or whatever it is that we're talking about. As always, I like to preface this by saying you've seen the results. We don't hide anything, we don't pull any punches. You can go ahead and check out load data, see all the loads we tested and how they performed. But before we close, I want to leave you with my personal thoughts on the rifle and cartridge combination. So overall, I think the rifle and cartridge performed phenomenally. I was very, very impressed with the rifle, so we'll go ahead and start out with that. It feels great. It's very handy in the field. I have taken it out on numerous coyote hunts and on horseback and other things, just walking around with the rifle. It is extremely comfortable to carry, and its short 20-inch barrel makes it a joy to handle in the field, even with a suppressor on there. But this Nosler SR30K suppressor on here is a little bit shorter than their other models, and so it maintains a very nice balance with this rifle. The magazine fed perfectly, flawlessly, no issues there. The feed ramp in there is just perfect on the barrel, and the bolt runs just smooth as butter through that raceway. And you can probably see that if you pay careful attention to that while we're shooting it and developing loads for this particular rifle. I've taken numerous coyotes with it, been on a bunch of hunts with it. Overall, couldn't be happier with the rifle and optic performance. Now, let's go ahead and jump on over to the 22 ARC itself. When it comes to the cartridge, I absolutely love the performance I'm getting. It is an improvement over the 223 Remington 5.56 NATO. The 1-in-7 twist allows me to shoot very heavy for caliber bullets and have some really, really great BCs for a 22 caliber cartridge. Some of those BCs encroaching upon 6mm bullet territory. So I really, really like that. And overall, in looking at our hand loads and all the loads that we developed, we got uniformly low standard deviations and extreme spreads and pretty good accuracy overall. Even with some of the loads that didn't shoot all that well compared to the other ones, they were still almost all sub MOA, which tells me that the 22 ARC is indeed a very accurate cartridge. And as for terminal performance, I've taken several coyotes with the 80.5 grain Berger full bore target bullet and the Hornady 62 grain ELD VT and their factory ammunition. And both bullets performed wonderfully well on those coyotes. All the shot placements were spot on. They were good shots, and every coyote that I hit was recovered. So that tells you a lot about the terminal performance of these bullets when pushed past the 5.56 performance level. Overall, I think the 22 ARC is a great cartridge. I really hope it catches on, and I love the fact that they have the two pressure levels, one for gas guns and one for bolt action, so you can really unlock a higher level of performance through hand loading. So those are my personal thoughts on the rifle and cartridge. At this point, I want to thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around to the end. If you haven't done so already, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Let us know you liked what you saw. And as always, subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified when we post our next video. We've got a lot of exciting content coming up, whether that's in the magazine or on here. You don't want to miss out on it, and I'd encourage you guys to subscribe to both of those. And last but not least, there is the comment section. I admit I have a little bit of a hard time keeping up with all of you guys now because we've grown so much over the past few years, but I do still read every single one of those comments, and I do my best to respond to them as time allows. So thank you so much, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.